Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a truth we cannot ignore. Life has a way of sending us storms. Sometimes it isn't just rain, it's thunder, it's lightning, it's chaos. And in those moments, when everything seems uncertain, when the foundation beneath us begins to shake, we discover whether we are built on sand or stone. Now today we speak about AMODI in big trouble. And let me tell you something, trouble is not the end, it is the beginning. Trouble is the universe asking you, what are you really made of? Trouble is life knocking on your door, demanding that you rise, grow, and transform. You see, we don't build character in times of comfort. We reveal it in times of crisis. We don't discover our strength on sunny afternoons. We discover it when the storm howls and the night is at its darkest. And the question for AMODI, for you, for me, for every single one of us is this: will we shrink back in fear, or will we step forward with courage? Trouble is an invitation to change your philosophy, sharpen your discipline, elevate your vision, and become more than you ever imagined. So today, I don't want you to look at the trouble with despair. I want you to see it as the very thing that could ignite the fire of transformation in your life. Because the real tragedy is not being in trouble. The real tragedy is staying the same when trouble demands that you grow. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by asking you a simple but sobering question. How often do we truly pay attention to our lives until trouble comes knocking? Think about it. Most of the time we drift. We live as though tomorrow is promised, as though opportunities will always wait for us, as though the clock isn't ticking. And then suddenly life shakes us awake. Sometimes it's a financial crisis. Sometimes it's a relationship falling apart. Sometimes it's a business collapse, a health scare, or a betrayal. And in that very moment, the comfort zone we've been living in dissolves, and we are confronted with a truth we can no longer avoid. Adversity is the alarm clock of life. Adversity has a strange way of demanding our attention. It does what comfort never could. It forces us to reflect, to question, to evaluate, and to change. Without it, most people would remain asleep at the wheel. They'd coast through life, unaware of their true potential, unaware of the urgency of time, unaware of how much they're capable of creating and contributing. But when adversity strikes, suddenly the fog lifts. Suddenly mediocrity becomes intolerable. Suddenly we start asking better questions. Where did I go wrong? What can I do differently? How do I rise again? That's the wake-up call, my friends. Now let me tell you, the wake-up call doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to summon you. It comes to remind you that you were not designed for small thinking, for lazy habits, for wasted days. Trouble knocks because you've been drifting too long. Trouble comes to say, you can be more, you can do more, you must rise higher. Let me give you an image. Imagine a farmer who has neglected his field. He planted seeds long ago, but never watered, never weeded, never tended the soil. The field became overrun, the harvest ruined. One morning he looks at his empty baskets and feels the pain of hunger. That moment of hunger, that is adversity. And in that hunger he is awakened to a truth. Neglect has consequences. The hunger didn't come to end his life. The hunger came to tell him, pay attention, tend the field, get back to discipline. So often people mistake adversity as punishment, but it isn't punishment, it's instruction. It's the lesson wrapped in pain, the guidance wrapped in struggle. Life whispers when we are comfortable, but when we ignore the whispers, life begins to shout. And trouble is that shout. Now here is the great danger. When trouble comes, many people fall asleep even deeper. They numb themselves with excuses, distractions, addictions. They say, why me? Instead of asking, what now? They blame the government, the economy, their parents, their partners, their boss, anyone but themselves. But here's the reality. Adversity is not a signal to point outward, it's a signal to look inward. Because the wake-up call isn't about them, it's about you. The real winners in life are the ones who choose to hear the alarm and get up. They don't hit snooze on their responsibility. They don't roll over and go back to sleep. They say, if this storm has come, I must learn. If this crisis has arrived, I must grow. If this door has closed, I must search for another. That's the attitude of someone awake. Let's talk about this practically. When trouble shows up, the first thing you must do is stop resisting reality. The storm has arrived. Denying it won't calm the winds. Acknowledge it, face it, stand in front of it with courage. Because once you accept reality, you can begin to learn from it. And the lesson is the real treasure. Remember this, pain is temporary, but the lesson can serve you for a lifetime. Think back on your own life. Was it not in your most difficult seasons that you discovered strength you didn't know you had? Was it not after heartbreak that you learned what love truly requires? Was it not after failure that you became wiser in your choices? Every trouble, every setback, every dark valley carries within it a gift, the gift of awareness, the gift of growth, the gift of awakening. But the gift is only unlocked if you choose to respond with humility and hunger for change. Adversity is a teacher that doesn't coddle, it doesn't sugarcoat, it doesn't pat you on the back and say, it's okay, just keep doing what you've always done. No, adversity points its finger in your face and says, wake up. The way you've been living is not enough. The way you've been thinking is not enough. The way you've been working is not enough. Rise higher or remain in the rubble. And let me remind you, there's nothing gentle about a wake-up call. That alarm bell is loud for a reason, because without it, you'd sleep through your destiny. So here's the choice. Will you see adversity as your end or as your beginning? Will you curse it, or will you thank it for shaking you awake? Will you resist it, or will you embrace it as the very thing that can transform you? History is filled with stories of men and women who rose to greatness not because life was kind to them, but because life was cruel enough to wake them up. They turned their pain into fuel, their losses into lessons, their obstacles into opportunities. They allowed trouble to do its work, not to break them, but to build them. Let me give you this principle to carry home. Adversity doesn't visit the weak, it visits the strong. It comes not because you cannot handle it, but because you are ready to grow through it. So the next time you find yourself in big trouble, don't panic, pause, don't complain, consider, don't retreat, reflect. Ask yourself, what is life trying to teach me right now? What discipline is missing? What truth have I ignored? What strength is waiting to be discovered? Because if you can hear the message hidden inside the noise, you'll wake up to a new version of yourself, wiser, stronger, sharper, more disciplined, and more determined. And that awakening, my friends, is worth every storm. Adversity is not your enemy. Adversity is your alarm clock, and the only question left is, will you wake up? Ladies and gentlemen, picture this: a ship caught in the middle of a violent sea. The waves are rising, the winds are roaring, and darkness covers the horizon. In such a storm, survival is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of preparation. The strength of the sails, the firmness of the ropes, the steadiness of the crew, these determine whether the ship will sink or survive. And in the very same way, when the storms of life come, and make no mistake, they will come, the deciding factor is not chance, not hope, not even prayer alone. It is discipline. Discipline, my friends, is the shield that guards you when the storm rages. Without it, you are exposed, vulnerable, tossed around by every wave of circumstance. With it, you are anchored steady, unshaken by the fury around you. Trouble may roar, but discipline whispers, stand firm. Let's define it clearly. Discipline is the consistent practice of doing what must be done, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is showing up when excuses scream at you. Discipline is keeping promises to yourself long after the excitement has faded. Discipline is building habits so strong that even when the storm comes, your life doesn't fall apart. You simply adjust the sails. Now here's the truth. When trouble hits, people without discipline collapse. They panic, they procrastinate, they search for someone else to blame, someone else to rescue them. They are like that ship without sails, drifting wherever the storm decides. But those who have lived a life of discipline, they bend, but they do not break. Why? Because discipline built them before the storm arrived. Let me share with you a secret that separates the successful from the struggling. Storms don't create discipline. Storms reveal it. The moment of crisis simply uncovers the preparation you've been making or neglecting all along. The disciplined person has reserves of strength, clarity, and courage. The undisciplined has nothing but regret. Think of a soldier in battle. The shield he carries wasn't forged in the middle of the fight. It was forged long before, in the quiet hours of training, in the sweat of preparation, in the discipline of practice. By the time the arrows are flying, it's too late to start forging shields. And so it is in life. If you wait until the storm to start building discipline, you are already at risk of being swept away. That's why discipline must be your daily companion. It is the invisible armor you put on each morning. It is the habit that protects your health, the consistency that strengthens your finances, the self-control that preserves your relationships, the integrity that builds your reputation. Each act of discipline is another layer of steel around your spirit. Each choice to do what's right, even when it's hard, is another nail securing your shelter against the storm. Let's make this practical. Imagine someone who has practiced financial discipline. They save consistently, live within their means, avoid foolish debts. Then one day an unexpected expense arrives, a storm, if you will. The undisciplined person panics, collapses under the weight of bills, cries out in desperation. But the disciplined person, they reach into reserves, adjust their budget, tighten their habits, and continue moving forward. The storm didn't destroy them, it revealed their strength. Or take health. The person who disciplines themselves to exercise, eat wisely, rest adequately. They may still face illness, but their body is stronger, their recovery quicker, their mind sharper to handle the challenge. The undisciplined, they are caught unprepared, and the storm overwhelms them. Discipline does not eliminate the storm, it equips you to endure it. And here's the beauty. When the storm passes, and it always does, you are not left broken, but better. because the discipline that shielded you also sharpened you. But let's not pretend discipline is easy. If it were, everyone would walk the path of strength. Discipline requires sacrifice. It demands consistency. It often feels like a burden in the moment. But let me remind you of this principle. You pay either the price of discipline today or the price of regret tomorrow. The first weighs ounces, the second weighs tons. Regret is a heavy load. The regret of wasted time, the regret of broken health, the regret of lost opportunities, all because discipline was ignored. But those who embrace discipline carry a lighter burden. Yes, it requires effort, but that effort builds resilience. It builds confidence. It builds a shield so strong that no storm can strip you of your foundation. Think of discipline as a friend who speaks hard truths. When you'd rather stay in bed, discipline whispers, "Get up." When you'd rather spend a night on, recklessly, discipline warns, "Save." When you'd rather lash out in anger, discipline says, "Hold your tongue." It doesn't flatter you, it strengthens you, and though you may resist it in the moment, you'll thank it when the storm comes. Let me illustrate further. Picture two houses, one built on rock, one built on sand. The house on sand looks easier, faster, cheaper. That's the undisciplined life. Shortcuts, laziness, excuses. The house on rock takes longer, costs more, requires more effort. That's discipline. Hard choices, consistent effort, delayed gratification. Then the storm comes, the rain falls, the winds blow, the floods rise, and only one house stands. Which one? The house built on discipline, the house built on rock. So here's the challenge for you today. Build your shield before the storm. Don't wait until adversity arrives to start strengthening your habits. Start now. Discipline your thoughts because storms of doubt will come. Discipline your finances because storms of lack will come. Discipline your health because storms of sickness will come. Discipline your relationships because storms of conflict will come. Discipline your character because storms of temptation will come. Every small act of discipline today is preparing you for a storm tomorrow. And let us not forget, discipline is not just a shield for survival, it is a weapon for victory. The disciplined don't just endure storms, they learn to harness them. They use the winds to push their sails, the rain to nourish their soil, the challenge to sharpen their spirit. Discipline transforms the storm from a threat into an opportunity. In the end, here's the truth. Storms are inevitable, but defeat is optional. Trouble may come, but disaster is not guaranteed. The deciding factor will always be, did you live a life of discipline or did you gamble on comfort? My friends, let me leave you with this. Discipline is the difference between a life built on excuses and a life built on excellence. Discipline is the shield that doesn't just protect you in the storm, it proves who you are. So when the storm comes, and it will, be ready. Let your discipline speak louder than your fear. Let your discipline guard you against despair. Let your discipline carry you through the night until the morning comes. And when the sun rises again, you will not just have survived, you will have conquered. Ladies and gentlemen, let us pause for a moment and speak honestly about one of the greatest forces in human life, fear. Fear has stopped more dreams than failure ever has. Fear has silenced more voices than critics ever could. Fear has paralyzed more potential than poverty, illness, or circumstance combined. And yet, here's the paradox. Fear, if understood, can become one of your greatest allies. Fear is not meant to paralyze you, it is meant to alert you. And when you learn to channel it, fear can become the very energy that drives you into focused, decisive action. Now, let's be clear. Fear is not the enemy. Let me repeat that. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is a messenger. It is life's way of saying, pay attention. Something important is at stake here. You see, without fear, there would be no urgency. Without fear, there would be no caution. Without fear, there would be no growth. Fear is the spark that says, wake up, something valuable is on the line. The problem is not fear itself, it's what we do with it. Some people, when they feel fear, retreat. They step back, they hide, they play small. They let fear convince them that safety is better than progress, that comfort is better than growth. And every time they do, fear grows stronger and they grow weaker. But others, those who live with purpose, take fear as fuel. They feel the same trembling in their stomach, the same pounding in their chest, but instead of retreating, they move forward. They let fear sharpen their vision, heighten their awareness, and drive them into bold action. Let me give you a principle that can change your life. Fear is only destructive when it is unfocused. Unfocused fear becomes anxiety, worry, panic. Focused fear becomes clarity, urgency, and energy. The difference is not the presence of fear, it's the direction you give it. Think of fear like fire. Left uncontrolled, fire destroys homes, burns forests, reduces everything to ash, but channeled properly, fire warms houses, cooks food, forges steel. Fire itself is neither good nor bad. It depends on how it's used. And so it is with fear. Left uncontrolled, fear burns your dreams to the ground. But channeled, fear can forge the very strength you need to rise. Let's take a practical example. Imagine a young entrepreneur about to launch their first business. Fear rises. What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I lose money? Now, if that fear remains unfocused, it paralyzes them. They never start, never try, never step out. But if they focus that fear, something powerful happens. The fear of failing pushes them to prepare more thoroughly. The fear of looking foolish drives them to sharpen their skills. The fear of losing money inspires them to manage their finances carefully. The fear hasn't vanished, but it has been harnessed, redirected into disciplined, focused action. That is the secret, my friends. Don't try to eliminate fear. Transform it. When fear whispers, "What if I fail?" respond with action. When fear says, "You're not ready," let it push you to prepare. When fear says, "You're not enough," let it challenge you to grow. Every time you act in the face of fear, you shrink its power and expand your own. Now let's go deeper. Why do so many people let fear paralyze them? Because they focus on the wrong picture. They magnify the danger and minimize the reward. They rehearse the worst-case scenario so many times in their minds that they never imagine the best-case scenario. Fear feeds on imagination, and whatever picture you give it, it multiplies. So here's a practical strategy. Shift your focus. When fear rises, ask yourself, what if I succeed? What if I grow stronger? What if this risk becomes the turning point of my life? Train your imagination not to exaggerate failure, but to magnify possibility, because the same imagination that fuels fear can also fuel faith. Think of a tightrope walker. To an untrained eye, it looks terrifying. One wrong move and disaster strikes. But the seasoned performer doesn't focus on falling. They focus on balance, on precision, on each step forward. Fear is still there. It keeps them alert, sharp, steady, but it is focused fear. And that focus transforms danger into performance. And let me remind you, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. Without fear, courage would not even exist. So if you feel fear, don't curse it, thank it. It means you're standing on the edge of growth. It means something valuable is at stake. It means you're alive, engaged, and on the verge of discovery. But here's the tragedy. So many people misinterpret fear as a signal to stop. They think, if I feel fear, it must not be the right path. No, fear is often the clearest signal that you're heading exactly where you need to go. Growth lives outside of comfort. Opportunity lives beyond fear. The path that scares you is often the path that grows you. So the question is not, how do I get rid of fear? The question is, how do I guide fear into focused action? And the answer is discipline. Discipline takes the raw energy of fear and gives it direction. Discipline says, yes, I feel fear, but I will take the step anyway. Discipline turns fear into fuel, anxiety into action, trembling into triumph. Let's bring this down to the ground. Next time fear rises, here are 3 steps you can take. 1, acknowledge it, don't deny fear, name it, speak it out, because what you name, you can manage. Redirect it. Ask, what is this fear trying to tell me? How can I use it as fuel? Find the action it demands. Act immediately. Don't wait. Don't give. Fear time to grow roots. Move quickly, even if it's just a small step. Action is the antidote to fear. Remember this, the more you act in the presence of fear, the smaller fear becomes. But the more you hesitate, the larger it grows. Fear feeds on inaction. Action starves fear. History has proven this time and again. Every great leader, every innovator, every pioneer felt fear. But instead of bowing to it, they harnessed it. They let fear keep them awake, sharp, prepared. They turned fear into focus and focus into victory. So let me leave you with this. Fear will knock at your door every time you aim higher. Don't run from it, welcome it. Don't surrender to it, channel it. Don't let it shrink you, let it shape you. The storm will come, the winds of uncertainty will blow, the shadows of fear will loom large, but when you choose to turn fear into focused action, you discover that the very thing that threatened to stop you has become the force that propelled you, and on the other side of that fear, you will find freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, let us be very honest today. No one wins the battles of life alone. We like to believe we are self-sufficient, that we are strong enough to carry every burden by ourselves. But the truth is, your destiny is shaped not only by your decisions, but also by your associations. Who walks beside you in the storm will often determine whether you collapse in defeat or rise in victory. When crisis comes, when life shakes you to the core, when you're staring at loss, betrayal, or uncertainty, the voices around you become louder than ever. And those voices will either lift you up or drag you down. They will either feed your faith or feed your fear. They will either sharpen your vision or blur it beyond recognition. That is the power of association. Let me put it plainly. Your future is too important to leave in the hands of the wrong company. When you're in trouble, some people will only magnify your pain. They'll tell you, it's hopeless, it's over. Just accept defeat. They will remind you of your failures, reinforce your doubts, and paralyze your hope. Others, however, will look you in the eye in your darkest hour and say, yes, the storm is fierce, but you are stronger than you think. Yes, you've fallen, but you can rise. Yes, it hurts, but this is not the end. It's a new beginning. And those words spoken at the right moment can give you the strength to fight again. That's why in times of crisis, you must evaluate your associations with brutal honesty. Ask yourself, who has my ear? Who has my heart? Who is shaping my perspective right now? Because the people you allow into your inner circle during a storm will either anchor you or drown you. Now let me share with you a principle that can transform your life. Proximity is power. Whoever you spend time with, you become. Their attitudes, their beliefs, their habits, they rub off on you, whether you realize it or not. If you spend time with complainers, you'll soon find yourself complaining. If you spend time with victims, you'll start living like one. But if you surround yourself with builders, dreamers, fighters, you'll begin to rise to their level. Here's a story to illustrate. Imagine two men falling into a pit. One man is surrounded by friends who climb down with him, sit in the mud, and say, this is just life, we're all stuck, nothing can be done. The other man, however, has friends who stay above and shout, we'll throw you a rope, we'll pull you up, don't give up. Now tell me, which man has a greater chance of escaping? Not because he is stronger, but because his associations lifted him higher. And here is the deeper truth. Crisis is the best time to evaluate relationships. Why? Because crisis reveals character. In times of ease, everyone looks like a friend, everyone looks supportive. But when the pressure rises, when you are no longer convenient to them, when your success is threatened, when your light dims, then you see who truly believes in you. Some will vanish, others will betray, but a few, a precious few, will stay. And those few are worth building your future with. So when the storm comes, don't just ask, how do I survive? Ask also, who do I need beside me? Because your circle will either multiply your strength or divide it. Let's be practical. If you're in financial crisis, don't spend your time with people who normalize poverty, who mock ambition, who tell you money is evil and success is for others. No, seek out those who have walked the road of discipline, who know how to manage, who can teach you strategies for growth. If you're in emotional crisis, don't confide in those who feed your bitterness, who encourage your resentment. No, seek out people of wisdom, people of forgiveness, people of peace. If you're in spiritual crisis, don't hide among the cynical, the hopeless, the mocking. No, attach yourself to the faithful, to the hopeful, to those whose vision pierces through the darkest nights. Because here's the law, association is contagious, courage is contagious, faith is contagious, discipline is contagious, but so are fear, laziness, and despair. So the question is, what do you want to catch? Now let's go deeper still. Sometimes crisis is life's way of clearing your circle. Sometimes the storm is not just about testing you, it's about exposing those around you. It shows you who was truly with you and who was simply near you. And though it hurts, though it feels like loss, sometimes the departure of the wrong person is the greatest gift crisis brings, because until they leave, the right people cannot enter. So don't resist the pruning process. If someone abandons you in crisis, let them go. If someone ridicules your dream, let them go. If someone poisons your hope, let them go, because your destiny cannot afford to be held hostage by the wrong company. But here's the other side. While crisis clears out the wrong, it also introduces the right. Have you noticed that in your lowest moments, new people often appear? A mentor, a guide, a friend who sees potential in you when you see nothing in yourself. Crisis has a way of aligning you with people you would never have met otherwise. That's the power of new associations. And let me tell you, the right association at the right time can change everything. One word of encouragement, one piece of advice, one act of support can redirect an entire destiny. Never underestimate the power of a timely connection. So what must we do? 3 things. 1, audit your circle. Be honest. Who is feeding your faith and who is draining it? Who pushes you higher and who keeps you low? Make no excuses. Your destiny is on the line. 2, seek intentional connections. Don't just wait for people to appear. Go find them. Attend seminars, read great books, join communities of growth. Surround yourself with those who have walked the road you wish to walk. 3, become the right association for others. Don't just look for encouragement, give it. Don't just seek wisdom, share it. Don't just receive faith, spread it. Because as you become a source of strength for others, strength flows back to you. Let me close this keynote with a warning and a promise. The warning: if you keep the wrong company in crisis, their poison will infect your spirit and you will drown. The promise: if you surround yourself with the right company in crisis, their strength will lift you higher than you could ever rise alone. So choose wisely, because the power of association in times of crisis is not optional, it is decisive. It will either cost you your future or secure it. Remember this: you are the average of the voices you allow closest to you. In the storm, choose voices of faith, courage, discipline, and vision, because the right associations don't just help you survive the storm, they help you build ships strong enough to sail beyond it.